Hey guys, Coach Adam from TeamElitePhysique.com talking to you today with another pro bikini review. This time we head overseas to Italy for the Sheru Classic Throwdown, where Anna and Sophia battle it out for first place, and Sophia stamps her ticket to the Olympia. Let's go ahead and see how it went down. So we're going to start off with Christina Brunauer, who got 5th place. Now, Christina just came off of a 2nd place in Poland. So how does she go from 2nd to 5th place with about the same level of competition in this grouping? Well, a couple of things that I think were a little bit off with Christina today, and I think that she could have been moved up a little bit higher. Now, looking at 1st and 2nd place, I think the highest she could have probably gotten was 3rd place if she changed these small things, but brought a really incredible physique. Someone I do think can get to the Olympia if she keeps going this year and makes some small changes to her physique. But let's go ahead and go into the positives of her physique first. From the back shot, really, really good shoulder to waist to hip ratio. Those tie-ins are amazing. Really, really good tie-in. She's got a full tie-in without it being an etched tie-in. It's getting close to being an etched tie-in, but it's not a fully crisp etched tie-in. Now look at those hamstrings. They're nice and round. There's no separation. The adductors, you're not seeing big adductor pops. There's no deep V there. Looking at her shoulder to waist to hip ratio, the one thing that she can improve on here, if you look at how she's posing her back pose, she's really pinching a lot, and you're seeing that subscapula. So you're seeing it bunch up a little bit in the back, and it's not giving her natural width that she could be showing. So if she showed a little bit better V-taper on that back and just opened up just a hair on those lats without pinching so much and getting that subscapula to kind of pop there, you see how it's pinching inward? If we look here, you see that little inward indent that she has on her upper back there? That should actually be more of a V-taper. You should actually be showing us a little bit of width here versus having it pinch in and go in. And that makes her look a little bit more straight up and down on her waistline versus a nice V-taper. You know, the judges want to see a nice hourglass shape. They don't want to see a big X-frame. They don't want to see bikini girls opening their lats like crazy, but they do want to see some shape. And when you pinch like that, you're a lot more narrow, you're a lot more straight up and down, and it throws off your lines. And it also hurts your overall shoulder width. So her shoulder to waist to hip ratio is pretty good, but it could be even better. And I think that would help a lot. And if you look at just some basic things like her hair, like look at how messy her hair is here. You know, sometimes when you're backstage for a while, and this is probably not even her fault. It's just kind of stage IQ, things that happen backstage. If you have long straight hair and you're backstage and they spray your oil early and they put it on your shoulders and put it on your back, and you're just sitting around with your hair down, your hair is going to soak up that oil. And you might be backstage longer than you think you're going to be backstage. And the next thing you know, you have oily hair and it kind of looks kind of more stringy and more of a mess. As you can see, it's all bunched down on her shoulders. You can see it's absorbed some of that oil. So simple solution is tell the people backstage not to spray your back with oil. Don't spray too much on the back of your rear delts of your shoulders. Just spray it kind of where your hair isn't. That's where you should spray oil, but don't spray it everywhere. Sometimes these oil people backstage, they're not experienced and they just oil the whole body. They oil your whole back. They have you lift your hair. It doesn't make any sense. Why are you putting oil on your back if you're not going to show your back? All it is going to do is absorb into the hair. And I think that's what happened here. And it just looks a little bit messy. It throws off the overall look. And looking at her makeup too, her makeup color to her body color, to her tan color is off. And that needs to be a little bit closer together. That needs to be really close. Now, a lot of times people are going, too many shades lighter than the tan. You should be pretty close to your tan color. Okay, you don't need to be exactly at your tan color, but maybe 1 shade, 2 shades. Some of these girls are going, 3, 4, 5 shades lighter than their tan, and it looks really strange when you have, like a really light face and a really tan body. You want to get your makeup close to your tan. And I think that sometimes people think that it just kind of doesn't matter, and they kind of blend it at the neck, and they kind of do the ombre neck, full tan body, light skin on the face. It needs to be very close. Honestly, you can get pretty much right on color of the tan if it's not too crazy. But this is just a little bit too light. You could see there's a big difference. You could see the ombre neck, the neck blending here, where you could see where the color is significantly lighter than like the bottom of the neck. So you want to, that's some of the things that you're really going to need at this upper level if you're trying to get to the Olympia, or especially if you're trying to compete at the Olympia. Hair, makeup, tan, all these things matter. Remember, girls, this is a fitness model contest. It's not, bodybuilding where your hair, your makeup, your tan, all that doesn't matter. All these things are judged. Beauty flow is judged. It's in the criteria, right? So complexion, all that matters. So these things are super important. So these little details make all the difference at the upper level. At the lower levels, it's not going to be as significant, but at the upper levels, there is zero room for error. Even hairs out of place, get them in place. Like it's little things like that. Now, as far as the overall physique goes, a couple of things that she can change and make a big impact on her right away is her overall presentation. So if you look at her shoulders, one's a little bit higher than the other, and she's almost leaning back just a hair. And because she's leaning back just a hair, she's not presenting her physique as wide as it can be. And with someone who's as petite as her, there's going to be a lot of little tricks that she can do to make her physique look fuller, look wider, look at the best it can. And right now, I think those are the main thing with her is going to be her overall presentation in all aspects. Her body is on point. Physique is really, really great, but now it comes down to presentation. The color of the suit, the hair, the makeup, tan, how she's posing. You see this pose here where her shoulders can be a little bit fuller up top. And all it takes is she's just leaning back just a hair. All she needs to do is just open up and come forward with it. Make sure that her shoulders are balanced. It's going to make her look a little bit bigger too. Remember, when the judges are down there, they're like 5 feet below you. When you lean back to them, you look a lot smaller versus if you're like straight on, you lean back, it doesn't look as significant, but when they're down there, you're way farther away from them. And because you're so much farther away from them, you get smaller. Things that are farther away look smaller. So especially if you move, 3 inches back, your shoulders are going to look even smaller to the judges. So you're posing, leaning back, and you're slightly tilted, you're not going to show your overall width best. So if she just posed that a little bit different, she would look a lot fuller up top and be more competitive. And I think she probably could have got as high as 3rd place here. Now, looking at her overall physique on her rib cage, that's another thing. She's also, so she's up tall and leaning back. And because of that, you're seeing her rib cage quite a bit. Now, that rib cage on a petite girl like her is going to make her go from looking lean to looking skinny. Now, if she had a lot of muscle and she was super dense and she had a crazy amount of fullness, she could show a little rib cage and be just fine. It wouldn't really come off as looking skinny. But when you're as petite as her and you have that smaller bone structure and you're showing ribs, now you go from being lean to looking skinny. And there's a big difference in that on the judge's eyes. And so I bet you she probably would get some feedback saying she's a little stringy up top, but she's not really stringy up top. She's presenting stringy up top. Look at everything. She's presenting her lats really small. She's not showing her width up top. She's presenting her shoulders from the front really small. She's showing her ribs. They're popping out, right? So she's not showing a full physique to the best of its potential. Now, could she be a little bit fuller? I do think she looks a little bit flat to me as well, but I think if she just carved up a tiny bit more, worked on her presentation, turned these things around, she would probably, she could have even been 1 and 2 in this position, in the 2nd place position with all those little changes. So that's how important these little things are in bikini. You can't get away with anything at this level. You mess up even just some small things and you're going to be dropping places right away. So this is something that's very correctable. She can compete next weekend with the exact same physique, change the hair, the makeup, the posing a little bit, and probably move way up. So I still think that she can get to the Olympia. She's got a great physique. Everything's there, and it's just these fine-tuning of these things, and that's how you turn someone who's right there, almost a champion, into a champion, is those little things. And now moving on to Priscila Leimbacher, or Leimbacher. I don't know if I got that right, but sorry, Priscilla. But Priscilla has been on the scene this year, doing really good and moving up the ranks. She got 3rd place at this show. So far this year, she's gotten 6th place at the Clash. She's gotten 5th place at the One Bro Pro. She's gotten 7th place at the Pittsburgh Pro, which is a Tier 1 high-level show. She's gotten now 3rd place at the Sheru Classic Italian Pro. So with that, what is it going to take for Priscilla to move up the ranks and get her 1st place? Let's go ahead and take a look. So Priscilla has pretty much everything she needs to get that Olympia qualification. I think she's already proved that with her high placings at these bigger shows, top 10 at a Pittsburgh Pro level show, all the placings that she's been getting this year. She's right there. She's not going to be someone when she gets that Olympia qualification, no one's going to be surprised about it. They're like, okay, cool. She finally put it together. She brought the package that she needed to bring. And as far as her overall look goes, let's go ahead and go into that. So first off, there's not really anything to improve on in terms of her overall look. Her hair, really great. Look at, now that's what I'm talking about when we talk about hair. It's nice, it's clean, there's no oil on it, the lower back is exposed. It creates more dimension between the lower back and the glutes. It makes the glutes look fuller when the hair is not all the way down on the lower back. You're still showing the shoulders. She's controlling it and showing her shoulders in that back pose. She's controlling her hair in the front pose. It's not hanging over and shrinking her shoulders up. Her makeup, let's look at her makeup. Her makeup is very close to her tan color, and you see how the difference is with her makeup and tan. It is really, really close. Maybe one shade lighter, but you can't really tell a distinct difference between the tan and the makeup color itself. The suit has a great contrasting color. I mean, really, there's not anything to improve on in terms of her overall presentation, makeup, hair, whatnot. Now, as far as her overall posing goes, her posing's also really good. Couple tiny things she might do to make things different, but it might not make a big difference. So from my eye, visually, what I'm seeing with her, it looks like it's more of a physique thing. Her lower body, her legs look a lot bigger than her upper body. So that's like the main thing, is just her balance is a little bit off. So the upper to lower body balance is a little bit off. And she's also posing this back leg a little wider. So I think if you just brought that back leg in a little bit, it would hopefully help the balance being a little bit better from upper to lower body. So her lower body is just a little bit bigger than her upper body. I would say by about like a 10% margin bigger, right? So it's just far enough away where it's not going to be acceptable for getting a win yet. I think that needs to come down, or she could pose a little bit bigger up top. And that could be the reason why too, that she's coming off as being more imbalanced. So if you look here, she's not giving her full shoulder width. Her waist is very, very profile. If you look at that waistline, it's super profile. She's got huge, amazing glutes. She's got great round hamstrings. But when you're super profile and just sitting just a little bit into your hips, she's not sitting a lot into her hips. She's sitting just a little bit into her hips. But because she's so profile, she's not getting her full shoulders in that front pose. So her shoulders are still kind of sideways a little bit. So to the camera here, if I'm posing here profile and I'm turning my shoulders over here, there's a big difference of me just opening up and posing, even though my waist is a little bit wider here, opening my shoulders up. And I think that would help her a lot with her balance, because it would look a lot more balanced if her shoulders were fully wide. And then she could pose with her legs a little bit closer together, this back leg pulling it in a little bit to make her legs look a tiny bit smaller. And I think that would help a lot with her overall balance. But I think that's the bigger issue for her, is she does still need a little bit more in the shoulders. She needs to work on her overall width, on her presentation. Her lats are great. I don't think she really needs any lats. She's got great high lats. She just needs to present them a little bit bigger and present her shoulders a little bit wider and get her shoulders maybe a hair bigger to match her lower body, and maybe bring her quads down just a little bit, just a tiny bit, to work on that balance. But honestly, it could just be a posing thing. Maybe if she twisted her hips a little bit back, or it wasn't so dominant, you wouldn't be seeing such a big difference between the upper and lower body, because it's there with a trained eye. When you get in front of one of these higher level judges that can spot that, they're going to pick that up right away, move her right down. So amazing physique. Looking at her from the back, this is one thing that she's improved on a lot, is her overall tie-ins. And that's basically what we've been saying for a while, is as soon as she gets her tie-ins to fully show up, she's going to be winning a show. I think there's two things she needs to do. She needs to get her tie-ins to fully show up, and she needs to get her balance from that front pose to be a little bit better. But honestly, with the posing alone, it's probably going to push that balance from being 10% off to being only 5% off. And that's probably going to be close enough if she can get her tie-ins to show up to win a pro show. You can see that she's moving up, but it's going to be based on the level of competition is how she's going to be moving up right now. If she fixes that balance issue, I think she's going to be a dominant bikini competitor at almost any show she goes to if she fixes those two things. And now we go into my favorite part. Did the judges get it right? 1 versus 2. Why does Sophia beat Anna today? And does she beat Anna, in my opinion? Let's take a look at it and dive right in. So first off, the number 1 and 2 in these shows look incredible. I mean, this is some serious talent overseas. It's going to be coming over to the Olympia. I was really surprised seeing this level of competition as a 1 and 2. Both of these girls, actually, what's funny is I saw Anna's pictures before I saw Sophia's pictures, and I was like, how did this girl lose? How did she lose this competition? Who was number 1? I know Sophia from earlier this year and her shows that she's done, but I didn't. This is the first time I saw Anna, and I was very, very impressed with her. So let's go ahead and look at it from the front. Let's see where Anna wins or where Sophia wins. So looking at the overall posing, first thing I want to look at is the overall posing. I do see Sophia looking more relaxed, looking more bikini pose. Remember, with bikini, you're supposed to pose like you look like you're just standing there, right? You're not supposed to look like you're flexing or you're overdoing it or like you're trying too hard. It's a fitness model pose, and you're supposed to look just more, I'm here, and this is my look. I'm not forcing anything. I'm not opening up my lats. I'm not doing any of these things. I will say she looks very relaxed in this pose. It looks like she's just kind of standing there, right? Now, with Anna, just a little bit more efforted. You can see that she's leaning back just a hair on this right lat here. She's really pushing that right lat. Her core is a little bit crispier than Sophia's. So I think in terms of the conditioning, with her core being so extreme, I do think, and her leaning back so much, I do think that hurts her. It looks a little more efforted. She's leaning back a little bit more than she should. Her lat looks a little bit like she's opening it a little bit. And her core looks a little bit, like if I'm comparing both of them side by side, it looks a little bit too tight, just a slightly bit over conditioned in that core. I'd bring it down just a hair and pose just a little bit more relaxed, and it would have made this a lot closer from the front. The other thing where Sophia wins is her shoulders are a little bit wider. Her natural just clavicle width is wider, and the fullness to her shoulders is just beautiful. There's no striations in the shoulders. It's just a nice, full, round shoulder with great clavicle width. Look at her complexion and the glow of her skin. It's really, really nice. She has that pretty muscle. Anna does as well, but you're seeing a little bit more density because of the conditioning. You're seeing a little bit more of the grain to the muscle. You're seeing the grain to the muscle in the shoulder. You're seeing that she could be a little bit fuller. I think that she could have handled a little bit more carbs in this one. She could have been a little bit fuller in her physique because she's a little bit tight and she's a little bit drawn out. It looks a little bit tight to me, like a little bit like she's a tiny bit flat. So for her to get that overall perfect look and that pretty muscle and to get that overall just without being overly tight, I think that she could just be posed a little bit less, a little bit more food, a little bit better, a little bit softer conditioning, and she would have been right there. Now, could she have beaten Sophia even with all that? Could she have beaten her? I don't know. The clavicle width and the beauty flow that Sophia has with her overall skin tone is pretty hard to beat. This physique is a pretty darn good physique. From the front right now so far, I haven't gone in the back yet so far. From the front, really, really good physique. I wouldn't be surprised a physique like this is, something in the top 15 at the Olympia. This is a really, really high level physique. So I don't know if she was beatable in any way, even if she did all that today. Now we turn them to the back, and from the back, it's pretty much lights out, game over, perfect score for Sophia. Sophia is in a different league from the back here, and it is, if there was any comparison from the front, from the back, there's just no comparison. It is just totally different. This is Olympia level versus, good level pro, but this is a different league here, how she's presenting from the back. Now, looking at her overall V-taper, I think this is important to talk about because I talked about it earlier. When girls are presenting their back pose and they're presenting really pinched off and not showing that width, and you have someone like this showing their width, they're going to make you look really small from the back. They're going to make you look like you're not developed. And we talked about earlier with the earlier girl pinching her back a little bit, and you look at Sophia here with that beautiful V-taper on her back. Now, remember, she's opening her lats a little bit, but she's not like flaring her lats. She's just showing some shape. The judges want to see that nice curvy physique. They want to see that V-taper, but they don't want to see an X-frame. Now, this is right there exactly where it needs to be for bikini. Nice back flow, nice. It helps the shoulder to waist ratio. She's giving us all of her shoulder width. She's giving us some of her back width, but it's making her waistline look really small. She's showing a nice hourglass shape. And then you get to her glutes, and she has those pop-out glutes that come way off of her waistline. Really, really good. She has full tie-ins without being etched tie-ins. This is a good level of tie-in where it's not too much. You're not seeing fully crispy tie-ins. This is probably the level of bikini where it should be. And I'm really happy that the judges awarded this as well. I think so. Kudos. Sometimes I give a hard time to these judges, right? Because I see things really well. All I do is bikini. They do all the divisions, but all I do is do bikini all day. And so this is a level where the judge said this is like the perfect bikini glute. I'm sure there were girls with tighter tie-ins there that had more edge tie-ins. So whoever the judge was, kudos to you. Really, really high level judging here, because some judges would see this and say, oh, there's girls there with better tie-ins than this. They have more detail showing the tie-ins, or maybe would have told her, you got to get your tie-ins tighter. This is the level of tie-in. If you look back, when we talk about the golden era, right, that Angelica era where the tie-ins were there, but they weren't fully crispy, which is something they're trying to get control of, is the overall conditioning in bikini, not letting it get too far. This is exactly the stopping point. This is a good level of bikini. So this as a marker for where it should be, I think is the golden rule here. Full tie-ins without crispy tie-ins, without etched tie-ins. They're still there, but they're not like fully in, right? So this is a good look. Her hamstrings are not separated. They're there. You can see the roundness there. You can see the detail lines. You can see a little bit of quad to her. But just look at the ratios, though. The shoulder to waist to hip ratio. I mean, everything there is really great. I do think her back pose, her feet are a little bit wide. She's posing a little aggressively with that back pose, but, small, tiny changes can make that a little bit better. I'd put her feet in maybe 1 inch on each foot and, not push as hard. She might need to do that with where her conditioning is. I'm not sure. And then the other thing too, the hair being like so straight on the bottom here, you know, to me, it looks like she can use some extensions in terms of the overall fullness of her hair. I think the fullness could be a little better and a little bit less like just so edged and straight. Just maybe like a nice tapering to that on the edges here on her hair. But little tiny things, you know, for maybe an Olympia level. But this is good enough for today. Now, when we go over to Anna on the back pose, we see here the difference, right? She's pinching in her back pose a little bit. She's not showing her shoulder width. She's very up and down with her shoulder width. She's got beautiful, great shoulders, great shoulder development. Look at how round those shoulders are. But she's not giving us the same width as Sophia, and it's because she's not opening up her back and she's pinching off so much. Again, girls, we don't want you opening up your back pose where you're like doing a lat spread or anything like that, but we do want to see some shape. You've worked hard for those lats. Show a little bit of that shape and don't pinch so much, right? We also see in her glutes, really good glutes, but they could, you know, what's weird is that her glutes look a little bit soft. I don't know if it comes down to her working out a lot with her glutes as of recently, and maybe there's some water retention still there. But when you look at her glute conditioning and you look at her core conditioning, there's a significant difference between how tight her core is. Her core, I'm saying, well, it might be a little bit tight. Her glutes, I'm saying, well, it looks like it could be holding a little bit of water or something. It wouldn't make sense that she'd still have, you know, body fat on her glutes. This isn't a bad level of body fat, but just there is some body fat there comparatively to the core. There's like no body fat on the core. So she could be someone that needs to get really, really tight in her core to get her glutes to come in this tight. And that might be the reason she's getting overly tight. So it could be some posing things that she needs to work on. Maybe pose the glutes harder and then come in a little softer to do that. But there's just some small things that she needs to work on to get her final package there. But one of the things is create more width, figure out the glute body fat distribution from the glutes to the core. It could be maybe she's working out really, really close to the show with her glutes and it's holding water though too. Maybe she needs to take more time off before the show on her glutes. Maybe take 5 days off before the show so your glutes get tighter and they're not holding water from built up inflammation from working your glutes really hard. I don't know her scenario. Maybe it's a cardio thing. But her body fat distribution from her backside of her glutes to her core is a little bit off, and that could be a little bit better. When you look at Sophia, it's pretty much even body fat distribution around the entire body. So this could be a posing thing. This could be a workout thing. This could be a body fat distribution thing. I don't know. But there's some work to be done, especially on the width of her back pose. But this is a really, really good physique. I think with her physique, with all these little things, if she can fix all these little holes, she's going to be winning shows no problem pretty much every other show. Really, really good physique. There's not a lot of development that's needed, but there is some that's needed, and a lot of it is in these fine-tuned details. So did the judges get it right? 100% absolutely. This one's quite obvious from the back. From the front, it's a little closer, but even then it's not that close. So Sophia wins, but she wins by a mile. No one's even close to her at this show. So hats off to you, Sophia. Glad to see you got your Olympia spot. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys here. Thank you guys so much. TeamElitePhysique.com for worldwide online contest prep and physique assessments if you want to get your physique assessed. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you next time.